It's Frano here. Uh, Basically, I've just had a few thoughts that I want to make a video about to do with social credit, social currency, my views on this idea. So, if you don't know, social credit is the kind of system that implements points and privileges to citizens based on what they buy, I suppose how they behave. Um, Although North Korea does not have a social credit system like China is implementing, I believe it has some kind of system where people are very much spying and grassing on each other about what they say, which leads to them potentially being imprisoned or being devalued in society by the dictatorship there. Um, so obviously, if you're in a dictatorship country, you need to be very careful on what you're saying in public, because there's a lot of telltales that the nature of it is, I suppose, for them to feel safe in society. They might tell on other people so they can kind of feel like people like themselves are higher in society than the people that are just speaking freely, if their free speech goes against the regime that they're in. It's a very unfortunate situation for people to try and live freely there. And technology is another form of control in this situation where they can monitor their citizens as well as people snitching. And the agendas in dictatorships are hard to fight against. Okay, so the idea of the social currency is things like, you know, what you buy with your money, the money that you earn in your job, or the money that you're entitled to from the government. What you buy with your currency, your money, goes towards a system, and there's a point system where, I don't know, say if you buy alcohol every day, which is your right, I believe, with your hard-earned money to buy what you want to buy each day. Alcohol, junk food, things like this, maybe your credit rating would go down. This Mickey Mouse credit score that they're implementing would go down. If you have a baby and you're a mother and you want to buy a little bottle of wine, or a bottle of wine to have a glass of wine to relax, your points might go down. If you buy things like nappies, so the baby is clean, things like, towards the health of the baby, your social credit might go up. There's a big problem with this because this social credit score of scrutinizing and analyzing and giving a score to citizens, does it apply to the government? When does it begin? So think about it, turn it around for a second. So if the government had a weak social credit score, then do they lose power? Do they lose influence? If the dictators, who are getting people murdered, surely their credit score goes lower. Do their crimes not apply into this credit system? So if you think about an example, if America adopted this credit system where they were scrutinizing, analyzing, well, you could argue they already are analyzing a lot of their citizens with the NSA, and spying and stuff. So if they started adopting this credit system and judging and having like a leaderboard of citizens and a culture of grassing on each other, going against free will, America's not a dictatorship, but if they did, then surely the government would have to apply. And where would it begin? When would you start criticizing and scrutinizing the government, and how would you devalue them for their crimes? Such as the crime of, I think everyone knows about the American CIA working, going into parts of the world to bring in drugs and sell the drugs on the street in America for higher value. So surely the people involved in that, at the time, if there was a social credit system, they'd be devalued. They'd be, if you were strict, they'd be on the level nearly homeless. And, well, first of all, that's crime, so they'd be in jail. But if they weren't in jail and it was a social credit system, they'd be the lower end of society. So therefore, they wouldn't be fit to work for the government anymore. They'd lose their jobs. If a bank is known that people working in a bank in a high position are funding terrorism, funding weapons across the world, surely they would be devalued. They'd lose their job. They'd have low social credit. So there's a big weakness and a big loophole, and there's a big problem with this Mickey Mouse social credit system. And that basically is, if you're pointing the finger on your members of society, you have to remember point the finger on yourself. You have to be devalued if you wish to devalue citizens, and you can't really disrespect those that work, whether you work or you're entitled to any income from the government. What you do with your money is up to you, and you have to learn as a citizen what you think is healthy and what you do with your money. Nobody can degrade you in society based on what you spend. And that's unfortunate that dictators are trying to do this. It doesn't work, in my opinion, and it all relies on monitoring and snitching, and a lot of people. It links in with digital currency, and a lot of people don't see the need or don't see the point or are against the digital currency. So, and a lot of people in China will find ways to buy things that go off-grid buying, I'm sure, or they'll get someone to buy something for them. If a mother wants a glass of wine, she'll get her nephew, her uncle to buy the wine that doesn't have a baby. There you go. So it fails anyway. It will fail. It's a Mickey Mouse thing, and unless it applies across the board and applies effectively, it's not a fair system either. It's clearly a dictatorship measure that I'm very much against. I think it's Mickey Mouse. I think trying to control people for what they say is ridiculous, because they'll just find another way of expressing it through art, and then they'll say, "Oh well, was I saying it or was I singing a song?" They'll find, was I against the government, or was I just, expressing myself in an artistic way, which you could say it's me. I could say, I'm an artist. There's so many ways people can express truly what they want to say under a guise that isn't directly them. And this is almost like law itself. When you're going to court, they put your name in block capitals and they say they're charging you as an entity, and that's Mickey Mouse as well, really. Paying tax is something some people don't do because it's not something that has to be done. It's just most people don't have the time to realize this, to phone up, to change this, and there's a lot of silly Mickey Mouse things that are involved. If you look up the straw man. And yeah, I'm privileged to be not in a dictatorship. However, I'm very much against dictators in all forms. So I'm going to leave it there. Peace out. This is a bit of a political one today. Have a lovely day, guys. Peace in and out. Love my high vibrations.